Have you ever learned a new scale, practice it for weeks, only just to realize that your solos still sound boring? You know the notes, you know the patterns, but instead of sounding musical, your solo sounds like you're practicing exercises. The reason isn't that you need more scales, it's that you're focusing on the wrong thing. And in this video, I'm going to show you the 3 biggest differences between playing scales and actually making music. So let's get into it. So the first thing that you need to know to make solos that don't sound like scale exercises is that great solos follow chords, not scales. So if you analyze the music theory behind your favorite guitar solos, you'll often find that usually they actually follow the chords of a song. In other words, what we usually refer to as the color tones, which are just the 3rd and the 7th of any given chord. Now, the reason that many professional musicians and guitar solos will do this is because that's what makes your guitar solo sound connected to the music that's going on, because it literally is connected. You're playing the notes that really define what the chord is, the 3rd and the 7th. And it's not that you have to do this for every second of your solo, but really leaning into those chord tones will make all the difference in the world to make your solo sound way more musical. And this works really great because it stems from the idea of chord scale relationship, which really is just a fancy term to refer to the connection that the scale that you're using has with the chord. Because no matter what you play, there is a relationship between what you're playing and what the chord is. And this matters so much more than you realize, because this is what will automatically make your solo sound musical just by virtue of using this idea. Now, the next idea that you really need to internalize to make your solo sound more musical is the idea that rhythm actually matters more than just the notes. Think about this. If you played a solo with just one note, you could still make it work if the rhythm is interesting enough. There have been songs in the past that toy around with this idea, for example, one note samba. And this is because the rhythm is the only building block of music that can stand on its own, contrary to melody or even harmony, because you can have a melody, but if you don't have rhythm, then you don't really have a melody, do you? Same thing with harmony. If you don't have rhythm in your harmony, it's just a static block of chord. So by using rhythm to your advantage, playing on the beat and off the beat, creating rhythmic dissonance in your solos, you can create a lot of intrigue, and you can also create a lot of tension and release with that strategy. And this is super important because rhythm is what defines what a motive is beyond just notes. And it's what differentiates it from straight technical exercises. Because when we play technical exercises, we're just playing in a static 16th note or 8th note pulse, like that's a very technical exercise, just straight up, no rhythmic variation. But if we do a bit of rhythmic variation, and if we even incorporate motives into that, we get something way more musical. So hopefully you can hear that rhythm is very, very important for your soloing, not just the notes that you're playing, but the rhythm that you're doing. It's extremely powerful to bring variation and interest to your solo. So definitely use that to your advantage. And the third really important concept for your solos to not sound like exercises is this idea that your solo should be similar to telling a story. It should have dynamics, a purpose, and a sequence, just like any good story, just like your favorite stories. And I found that one of the best ways for me to lock in and tell a good story through my solo is to really get in sync with what the rest of the band is doing. If the band is lowering their dynamics for you to enter in your solo, then you'll want to do a similar thing in your solo. Maybe start off with small notes, and not a lot of rhythm going on, maybe something simple, and then gradually ramp it up as the band also ramps up. And contrary to that, if the band is just blasting high and firing on all cylinders, then you know that when you enter your solo, it's gotta be ripping. It's gotta be, you gotta enter full force. And the way that you develop from that is maybe changing up the type of note you're playing. If you start off with single lines, then maybe towards the middle of your solo, change to octaves, just find a way to create dynamics, difference, and contrast in your solos to be able to tell that story, because what defines a good story is how it goes from one thing to the next. And like we talked about in rhythm, you're going to want to use motives to your advantage as well, because motives and repetition are an amazing way to tell a story, because you can use that repetition to our advantage and call back to something else in the song or in the previous part of your solo to really make it feel more climactic or significant. And combining all of this, phrasing, repetition, dynamics, structure, format, purpose, all these things really tie your solo together and kind of turn it from just a solo to almost like a story within your solo. And this elevates what you do when you're improvising and soloing, because dynamics and all this that we talk about, and that's what will really make your solo feel very alive, dynamic, and just impactful for you and for your audience. So definitely make sure to practice that within your improvisation. Don't just practice scales or what the right notes are to play. Practice developing a sequence, developing a story within your solo, not just playing the right notes, but playing the notes that say what you want to express, that tell the story that you want to tell. Make use of phrasing, dynamics, motives, and the other things that we've talked about in this video to do that. So, wrapping things up, if your solos sound like exercises, don't rush to learn another scale. Instead, focus on these three things that we've talked about: following the chords, improving your rhythm, and telling a story through your solo. You'll be surprised by just how musical and expressive your playing becomes without learning a single new scale. Now, none of this matters if you can't actually play a single scale or arpeggio throughout the entire neck without getting lost, which is exactly why I'm giving away my free guide, 3 Steps to Fretboard Mastery. In it, you'll find the exact method I use to not just see scales and arpeggios throughout the entire neck without getting lost, but to see absolutely everything that I do on the guitar throughout the neck instantly without having to think about it twice. So if that interests you at all, you can check it out in the link in the description down below. And until next time, keep practicing.